Commander Jack Porter stared at the alien ship through the main view screen of the Starward Hope. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of their colony vessel. The ship's design was unlike anything humans had encountered before, all sharp angles and protruding spines that gave it the appearance of a predator ready to strike. "Any response to our hails, communications?" Porter asked, maintaining his calm despite the tension on the bridge. Officer Ryan Garcia shook his head. "Nothing yet, sir. I've tried all standard frequencies and first contact protocols." Porter nodded and turned to his diplomatic officer. "Lisa, what do you think?" They'd been watching us for almost an hour. Lisa Mitchell studied the alien vessel, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Their positioning suggests a defensive stance. They're curious but cautious." The Starward Hope had been on its journey to establish a new colony in the Epsilon sector when their sensors detected the unknown ship. What was supposed to be a routine mission had suddenly become humanity's first encounter with an alien civilization. "Sir, they're responding," Garcia called out, his fingers flying across his console. The view screen flickered, and the bridge crew fell silent as an alien face appeared. The creature had gray-blue skin with ridge-like features that framed yellow eyes with vertical pupils. When it opened its mouth to speak, rows of sharp teeth became visible. "I am Zrekthar, fleet commander of the Vrax Dominion," the alien said, its words translated through the ship's computer. "You have entered territory claimed by the Vrax. Identify yourselves." Porter stepped forward. "I am Commander Jack Porter of the Earth colony ship Starward Hope. We come in peace, seeking to establish friendly relations. We were unaware this region was claimed by your people." The alien, Zrekthar, made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Humans, we have observed your transmissions. You are soft creatures." Lisa moved beside Porter. "Commander Zrekthar, we would welcome the opportunity to learn about your civilization. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting between our peoples." The alien commander studied them for a long moment. "I will board your vessel with my guard to assess your intentions. Prepare for our arrival." The screen went dark before Porter could respond. "Well, that was direct," Porter said, turning to his crew. "Lisa, prepare the meeting room. Ryan, alert security, but make sure weapons are concealed. We don't want to appear hostile." As the bridge crew rushed to prepare, Chief Security Officer Matt Rogers approached Porter. "Sir, should I prepare the K9 unit?" Porter considered the question. The enhanced military dogs were one of the ship's best-kept secrets. Animals bred and trained for combat situations, with genetic modifications that enhanced their intelligence and abilities. They were officially listed as companion animals in the ship's manifest. "Keep them on standby, but out of sight," Porter decided. "Let's see what we're dealing with first." Within 30 minutes, the Starward Hope shuddered slightly as the alien shuttle docked. Porter and Lisa waited at the airlock, flanked by security personnel in standard uniforms. When the door opened, Porter had to stop himself from stepping back. The Vrax were tall, nearly 7 feet, with broad shoulders and muscular bodies encased in what appeared to be organic armor. Zrekthar led 6 warriors, all carrying weapons that looked fused to their armor. "Commander Porter," Zrekthar said, towering over the humans, "your vessel is smaller than I expected. We focus on efficiency rather than size," Porter replied with a diplomatic smile. "Welcome aboard the Starward Hope." Zrekthar's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the human welcoming party. "Such fragile beings to journey so far from home. Tell me, what weapons do you bring to protect yourselves in the void?" Lisa stepped forward. "We carry defensive systems only. Our mission is peaceful colonization, not conquest." The alien commander made that strange laughing sound again. "In our experience, Commander, space belongs to those strong enough to claim it. Let us see if humans deserve a place among the stars." As Porter led the delegation toward the meeting room, he caught Matt's eye and gave a slight nod. If things went poorly, they might need every advantage they had. including their four-legged allies waiting quietly in the ship's security section. The meeting room aboard the Starward Hope fell silent as Commander Zrekthar settled his massive frame into a reinforced chair. His warriors positioned themselves around the room, their yellow eyes tracking every human movement. "Our scans show your ship carries agricultural equipment, construction materials, and many civilians," Zrekthar said, his translator converting his guttural language into English. "You claim to be colonists, yet you travel through contested space." Jack Porter nodded calmly. "As I explained, we had no knowledge this region was claimed. Our star charts show this sector as unexplored." "Perhaps your charts are incomplete," Zrekthar replied. "The Vraks have hunted in these stars for generations." Lisa Mitchell opened a holographic display showing their planned colony world. "Our destination is this planet, which we've named New Haven. Our surveys show it's uninhabited but suitable for human life." The alien commander leaned forward, studying the hologram. "This world lies within our hunting grounds. You cannot claim it." "We're willing to negotiate," Lisa offered. "Perhaps a trade agreement would benefit both our species." Zrekthar's response was interrupted by a communication alert. One of his warriors approached, speaking rapidly in their native tongue. The commander's face hardened as he turned back to the humans. "My fleet has arrived. 6 warships now surround your vessel." The humans exchanged concerned glances. Porter's expression remained neutral, but his mind raced through emergency protocols. "Is that necessary, Commander? We've shown no hostility." "It is prudent," Zrekthar said. "The Vraks do not trust easily. In our history, peaceful explorers often become conquerors once they establish footholds." Outside the meeting room windows, the massive Vrak ships came into view. Their hulls bore scars and markings that Porter recognized as battle damage. These weren't just warships. They were veterans of conflict. "We understand caution," Porter said carefully. "Earth has faced its own conflicts, but we've learned that cooperation often yields better results than confrontation." Zrekthar stood suddenly, towering over the seated humans. "Your kind speaks of peace while hiding behind walls of technology. The Vraks respect strength above all. Show us yours, or surrender your ship and colony plans." Lisa tried to diffuse the tension. "Perhaps we could demonstrate our cultural achievements instead. Human history is rich with culture." Zrekthar interrupted with a harsh laugh. "Does culture protect you from predators? From rival species who would take what is yours?" Porter stood to face the alien commander. "We prefer diplomacy, but humans are capable of defending ourselves when necessary." "Bold words from a soft species," Zrekthar said. "The Vraks judge potential allies by their strength and their beasts." "Beasts?" Porter asked, confused. Zrekthar gestured to one of his warriors. "Every worthy species tames the predators of their world, bending them to their will. The greatest warriors command the greatest beasts." Ryan Garsha's voice came through Porter's communication device. "Sir, the Vraks fleet is powering up weapon systems. They're taking aim at our engines." Porter maintained eye contact with Zrekthar. "Powering up weapons seems unnecessary for a diplomatic meeting." "It is merely insurance," the alien commander replied. "You should know that resistance would be futile. Your ship cannot outrun or outfight my fleet." The tension in the room thickened. Security Officer Matt Rogers subtly moved his hand toward his concealed weapon, but Porter gave him a warning glance. "I'll be direct, Commander Porter," Zrekthar said. "Either you surrender your colony plans and accept Vrak's protection, or we demonstrate our superiority. You have 1 Earth hour to decide." With that, the alien commander and his warriors moved toward the exit. At the doorway, Zrekthar turned back. "To help your decision, I will show you what happens to those who challenge the Vraks. Prepare to witness our true power when we unleash the beasts." The door slid shut behind the aliens, leaving the humans with a dire ultimatum and precious little time. The hour passed quickly as Porter gathered his senior staff in the ship's command center. Maps and tactical displays filled the screens, showing the Starward Hope surrounded by the Vrax fleet in a formation that left no escape route. "Options?" Porter asked, looking around the table at the grim faces of his crew. Chief Engineer Susan Collins shook her head. "Their ships outgun us 10-1. Our engines could push us to emergency speed, but not before they cripple us." "The colonists," Lisa reminded them. "We have over 2,000 civilians on board, most of them families." Matt Rogers studied the tactical display. "Sir, we could deploy the security teams at key points throughout the ship. If they try to board, it would be a slaughter," Porter said quietly. "They're bigger, stronger, and their armor appears to be resistant to our standard weapons." The room fell silent as the weight of their situation sank in. The Starward Hope was a colony vessel, not a warship. It carried farmers, teachers, and scientists. People looking for a fresh start, not a war. "Commander," Ryan called from his station. "We're receiving a transmission from the Vrax flagship. They're requesting permission to bring something aboard. A demonstration, they say." Porter exchanged glances with Lisa. "What kind of demonstration?" "They won't specify, sir, but they've promised no weapons will be activated against us during this exhibition." Porter's jaw tightened. "Tell them they can dock at the cargo bay." "Matt, I want your team there, but keep weapons concealed." "Lisa, you're with me." 20 minutes later, Porter watched as a large Vrax transport vessel connected to the Starward Hope's main cargo bay. The massive doors slid open, revealing Commander Zrekthar, accompanied by a dozen warriors. Behind them, 4 Vrax struggled to control a large container that emitted deep guttural growls. "Commander Porter," Zrekthar greeted, his vertical pupils dilating in the bay's bright light. "I trust you've considered our generous offer." "We have," Porter replied, keeping his distance from the mysterious container. "And we still believe there's room for negotiation. Our colony wouldn't interfere with your hunting grounds." "Enough words," Zrekthar interrupted. "The time for talk has passed. Now is the time for demonstration." He gestured toward the container. "Every dominant species must control the apex predators of their world. The Vrax have mastered ours." At a signal from Zrekthar, his warriors activated controls on the container. A transparent force field appeared at the front, revealing what was inside. Porter heard Lisa gasp beside him. The creature was massive, easily the size of an earth tiger, but with 6 powerful limbs and a hide covered in metallic-looking scales. Its head featured multiple eyes and a jaw that split into 4 parts, each lined with serrated teeth. The beast hurled itself against the force field, which flashed but held firm. "This is the Kraxar," Zrekthar announced with obvious pride. "The apex predator of our homeworld. Every Vrax warrior must subdue one to earn their place in our military." The beast roared, a sound so deep that Porter felt it vibrate through the deck plates. Several of his crew stepped back involuntarily. "Impressive," Porter managed to say. "But what does this have to do with our situation?" Zrekthar's mouth formed what might have been a smile, revealing rows of pointed teeth. "This is only one of many beasts we command. When we say, 'Unleash the beast,' worlds tremble. Those who surrender to the Vrax are spared this sight in battle." Lisa stepped forward. "We understand your species values strength, Commander Zrekthar. Humans have our own forms of strength. Do you?" The alien challenged. "What beasts do humans command? What predators bend to your will?" Porter caught Matt's eye across the cargo bay and gave a slight nod. Matt turned away, speaking quietly into his communicator. "The strength of humanity," Porter said carefully, "comes in many forms. Perhaps it's time we shared one of them with you." The cargo bay doors slid open with a soft hiss, drawing all eyes. Matt Rogers entered, walking calmly toward the gathered humans and Vrax. At his side trotted a German shepherd with a sleek black and tan coat. The dog moved with perfect discipline, matching Matt's pace exactly without a leash. Zrekthar stared at the dog, then let out a barking sound that his translator conveyed as laughter. This is your beast, The Vrax warriors joined their commander, making sounds of amusement. "This is Ranger," Matt said, his voice steady. "He's a specially trained military working dog." The Kraxar in the containment field roared again, lunging toward the dog. Ranger's ears perked up, but he remained perfectly still beside Matt, not even flinching at the much larger predator's display. "Your pet shows admirable restraint," Drekthar said, "but surely you don't compare this small creature to our war beast." Porter stepped forward. "Humans and dogs have a special relationship, Commander. Unlike your Kraxar, which you must force into submission, dogs and humans chose each other thousands of years ago." Lisa added, "On Earth, wolves, the ancestors of dogs, were predators that humans might have fought. Instead, we formed a partnership that benefited both species." Matt knelt beside Ranger, speaking in a low voice. The dog's attention remained fixed on him. "Ranger isn't our prisoner or our slave. He works with us because we've built trust." To demonstrate, Matt stood and gave a hand signal. Immediately, Ranger moved to a position 10 feet away and sat. Another signal, and the dog lay down. A third, and he rolled to his side. Each movement was precise, executed without hesitation. "Impressive obedience," Drekthar admitted, "but obedience is expected of a lower creature." "It's not just obedience," Matt explained. "Ranger can make decisions on his own when needed." He pulled a small object from his pocket. "Find," he commanded, showing it to Ranger before hiding it behind his back. Ranger immediately began searching the cargo bay methodically, nose working furiously. Within moments, he stopped near one of the Vrax warriors, sitting and staring intently at the alien's equipment belt. The Vrax looked confused until Matt explained, "Your scanner gives off the same frequency as the object I showed him." Even Drekthar seemed impressed by this. "Your creature has intelligence, then." "And more," Porter said. "Dogs have worked alongside humans as hunters, protectors, rescuers, and companions. They can detect disease, find people trapped under rubble, guide those who cannot see, and comfort those who suffer." Matt issued another command, and Ranger returned to his side. "Most importantly, dogs understand human emotions. They form bonds with us that go beyond simple training." To demonstrate, Matt pretended to clutch his chest and fall to one knee as if in pain. Immediately, Ranger's demeanor changed. The disciplined military posture vanished as the dog whined and pushed against Matt's side, then looked toward the other humans as if seeking help. "He knows something is wrong," Lisa explained as Matt stood again, reassuring the dog with gentle pats. "He wants to help." One of the Vrax warriors stepped closer, studying Ranger with newfound interest. "The beast shows concern." "Not a beast," Porter corrected gently. "A partner. Humans don't dominate dogs through fear or force. We earn their loyalty through trust and care." Drekthar circled Ranger and Matt. His yellow eyes narrowed in thought. "Among the Vrax, we believe the strongest species command the fiercest predators. Yet your kind has turned predators into allies." "Exactly," Porter said. "Throughout human history, our connection with dogs has been one of our greatest strengths. Not because we conquered them, but because we recognize the value in working together." Drekthar looked from Ranger to the snarling Kraxar in its containment field. For the first time, uncertainty showed in the alien commander's expression. Commander Drekthar paced around the cargo bay, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. He stopped before Porter, towering over the human captain. "You claim partnership with this creature is strength, but words are meaningless without proof," Drekthar said. "Among the Vrax, all claims must be tested in combat." The alien commander gestured toward the contained Kraxar. "My challenge is simple. Let us see how your partner fares against a true predator." Susan Collins stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. "That's outrageous. You're asking us to sacrifice Ranger against that monster." Matt placed a calming hand on Ranger's head, the dog still sitting perfectly at attention despite the tension filling the room. "Sir," he said quietly to Porter. Ranger is enhanced, but that creature outweighs him by hundreds of pounds. Porter studied the Kraxar, which continued to hurl itself against its containment field. The beast's scales gleamed under the cargo bay lights, and its multiple eyes tracked every movement in the room with predatory focus. "What exactly are you proposing, Commander?" Porter asked carefully. Zrekthar's mouthparts formed what might have been a smile. "A simple test. We release both creatures in a secure area. If your partner survives for 5 of your Earth minutes, we will consider your words about strength through cooperation." Lisa began to object, but Porter raised his hand for silence. He moved closer to Matt and spoke in a low voice. "What do you think? Is there any chance?" Matt looked at Ranger, then at the Kraxar. Ranger isn't designed to kill something that size, but he's smart, with the right commands and strategy. "You can't be considering this," Susan hissed. "That thing will tear him apart." Matt knelt beside Ranger, looking into the dog's alert brown eyes. After a moment of contemplation, he stood and faced Zrekthar. "I accept your challenge, but with conditions. The test area must be large enough for maneuverability. I must be allowed to give commands, and the contest ends if either creature is seriously injured." The Vrak's commander considered this, then nodded. "Acceptable. We will use the larger storage bay on level 3. It will be evacuated and secured." 20 minutes later, the humans and Vraks gathered in an observation room overlooking the empty storage bay. The space below had been cleared of all equipment, creating an open arena roughly the size of a basketball court. Matt knelt beside Ranger, attaching a small camera and communication device to the dog's tactical vest. "Listen to me, boy," he said quietly. "This isn't about fighting. It's about outsmarting. Use the space. Use your speed. Remember your evasion training." Ranger licked Matt's hand once, his eyes never leaving his handler's face. "Time to begin," Zrekthar announced. "Release the creatures." 2 airlocks opened on opposite sides of the storage bay. Ranger trotted confidently into the open space, while the Kraxar burst from its containment with a roar that shook the observation windows. The alien beast spotted Ranger immediately in charge, its 6 powerful limbs propelling it forward with frightening speed. The humans gasped collectively, certain they were about to witness a tragedy. "Ranger, evade," Matt commanded through the communication link. The dog sprang into action, darting sideways with milliseconds to spare. The Kraxar skidded past, its claws screeching against the metal floor as it tried to turn. "Circle. Maintain distance," Matt called. Ranger began running in a Y arc, keeping the maximum distance between himself and the predator. The Kraxar gave chase, but the dog was faster and more agile, making sharp turns the larger creature couldn't match. The Vrak's warriors watched with increasing interest as the minutes ticked by. The Kraxar, built for short bursts of power, began showing signs of fatigue. Its charges became less coordinated, more desperate. "Ranger, distraction pattern Delta," Matt commanded. The dog immediately changed tactics, darting closer to the Kraxar before retreating, drawing the creature into lunges that wasted its energy. Each time the beast committed to an attack, Ranger was already moving to safety. At the 4-minute mark, the Kraxar was visibly exhausted, its movements sluggish. The Vrak's warriors had fallen silent, their earlier mockery replaced by something that looked remarkably like respect. "Enough," Zrekthar finally said as the timer reached 5 minutes. "The test is concluded." The observation room fell silent as the Kraxar was guided back to its containment field. Ranger trotted calmly to Matt's side, seeming barely winded by the ordeal. The security officer knelt down, checking the dog for any injuries before rewarding him with gentle praise and a scratch behind the ears. Zrekthar approached Porter, his yellow eyes narrowed in thought. "Your creature showed unusual tactics. It made no attempt to kill its opponent." "That wasn't the goal," Porter explained. "Ranger was trained to protect and defend, not to kill unnecessarily." The alien commander tilted his head. Among the Vraks, A predator that does not kill when given the chance is considered weak. Lisa stepped forward, or perhaps it shows a different kind of strength. Restraint. Ranger followed his training and Matt's commands perfectly. He accomplished his mission without bloodshed. An interesting perspective, Drekthar admitted. He gestured for one of his warriors to approach. Show them the recording. The warrior activated a holographic display that showed past battles between Kraxar beasts and other alien creatures. In each case, the fights were brutal and ended with the death of one combatant. For generations, we have measured species by how their apex predators perform in combat, Drekthar explained. Many have tried to impress us. All have failed. But those were just animals fighting animals, Susan pointed out. What Ranger demonstrated was something different, the cooperation between species. Porter nodded. Humans don't value dogs just for their ability to fight. Their greatest value comes from the partnership we formed. Dogs help us hunt, yes, but they also find lost children, detect diseases, guide the blind, comfort the sick, and alert us to dangers we can't perceive. Matt stood up, keeping one hand on Ranger's head. Dogs evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. We didn't force them to serve us. We offered food and shelter, and they offered protection and companionship. Both species benefited. Drekthar's expression was unreadable as he processed this information. You speak of cooperation between different species as if it were common. On Earth, humans have formed partnerships with many animals, Lisa explained. Horses carried us across continents before we had engines. Birds delivered messages across vast distances. Even tiny bees and worms help us grow food. But none are as close as our bond with dogs, Porter added. They can read human emotions and intentions better than any other species. Some scientists believe dogs and humans co-evolved, that we shaped each other's development. To demonstrate, Matt had Ranger perform a series of complex tasks that showcased not just obedience but understanding. Retrieving specific objects by name, responding to hand signals from across the room, and even pressing an emergency button when Matt pretended to collapse. The Vrax warriors watched with increasing interest, occasionally conferring among themselves in their own language. In all our conquests, Drekthar finally said, we have never encountered a species that forms such bonds with other creatures. We tame through domination. You partner through mutual benefit. It's central to human history, Lisa explained. We've always been physically weaker than Earth's great predators. We survived not by being the strongest, but by being the most cooperative, first with each other, then with other species. Drekthar approached Ranger, who remained calm but alert at Matt's side. The alien commander slowly extended a clawed hand. May I? He asked, looking at Matt. Matt nodded. Ranger, friend, he said clearly. The dog relaxed slightly but kept his eyes on the towering alien. With surprising gentleness, Drekthar placed his hand on Ranger's head. The dog's tail wagged cautiously. I have dominated many creatures, Drekthar said quietly, but never have I been accepted by one. He looked up at Porter. Perhaps there is more than one form of strength in this galaxy. For the first time since their encounter began, Porter felt a glimmer of hope. The alien commander was beginning to understand. The Starward Hope's main conference room had been transformed for this historic moment. The large oval table now featured both human and Vrax delegation members seated across from each other. Commander Porter sat at one end with Lisa Mitchell beside him, while Drekthar occupied the other end, his massive frame dwarfing the reinforced chair. The terms of our agreement are acceptable, Drekthar announced after reviewing the document on the display. The colony planet you call New Haven lies within disputed territory, but we can establish boundaries that respect both our interests. Porter nodded, relief evident in his expression. Thank you, Commander. This marks a significant step forward for both our species. 3 days had passed since the confrontation in the cargo bay. What began as a potential disaster had transformed into an unprecedented diplomatic opening. The Vrax fleet still surrounded the Starward Hope, but their weapons systems had been powered down. There is one additional matter, Drekthar said, leaning forward. My warriors have expressed great interest in your human-canine partnership. We request permission to learn more about this concept. Lisa smiled. We would be happy to share our knowledge. Matt has already prepared training demonstrations that might interest your people. The doors slid open, and Matt entered with Ranger and two other military dogs, a Belgian Malinois named Scout and a Doberman named Ace. The dogs moved in perfect formation, alert but calm despite the presence of the alien warriors. These companions represent thousands of years of partnership, Matt explained as the dogs positioned themselves around him. Each breed was developed for specific tasks, but all share the core bond with humans. One of the Vrax warriors, who had been introduced as Combat Specialist Krell, spoke up. On our world, we capture young Kraxar and break their will through pain and dominance. Your method seems inefficient. Actually, Susan Collins interjected, our approach is far more efficient in the long term. A dog that serves through trust will work harder, show more initiative, and remain loyal even when the handler is weakened or injured. To demonstrate, Matt had the dogs perform a complex rescue simulation. Scout located a hidden victim by scent alone. Ace retrieved emergency supplies, and Ranger stood guard, all coordinating their efforts with minimal commands. Impressive, Krell admitted. But can they fight as effectively as our beasts? Matt gave a hand signal, and the dogs instantly shifted into a defensive formation. They can, but their greatest value isn't in combat. It's in all the tasks they can perform that fighting beasts cannot. Porter watched as understanding slowly dawned on the Vrax faces. Commander Drekthar, we propose a cultural exchange program as part of our agreement. Perhaps some of your warriors could learn our training methods, and in turn, teach us about your world. Drekthar considered this for a long moment. The Vrax Council will find this unusual. We have never sought to learn from species we considered lesser. He paused. But perhaps that is why we have found so few allies in our expansion. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from recognizing the value in others, Lisa said gently. The alien commander rose from his seat, towering over the gathered humans. We accept your proposal, Commander Porter. The Vrax will withdraw our opposition to your colony, provided you respect the boundaries we have established. Formal documents were exchanged, marked with both human and Vrax authentication codes. As the meeting concluded, Drekthar approached Matt and the dogs one final time. Your companions have changed my understanding of strength, the alien admitted. For generations, the Vrax have believed that to unleash the beast was the ultimate display of power. He knelt down, bringing himself to eye level with Ranger. The dog looked back steadily, no fear in his gaze. But perhaps the true test of an advanced species is not the beasts they can dominate, Drekthar continued, but the partnerships they can form. With surprising gentleness, the fearsome alien commander extended his hand. Ranger sniffed it cautiously, then pushed his head forward to accept a tentative pat. Porter watched the scene with a sense of profound accomplishment. What had begun as a dangerous first contact had transformed into the foundation for a new alliance. You know, Porter said quietly to Lisa as they observed the Vrax warriors cautiously interacting with the dogs. When they said, "Unleash the beast," I don't think this is what they had in mind. Lisa smiled. Sometimes the universe's greatest lessons come in unexpected packages.